Now on to my D names. Anyway, my first girl name for D is Daylin, and Daylin is my favorite girl name for D. Daylin could be girl or boy. It could be unisex name. I actually knew a boy named Daylin, but I think Daylin is really cute for a girl. Then we have Danica. Danica is a name I have liked probably since I was in high school. When I met a girl named Danica, I just really liked her name. Then we have Deirdre. Deirdre is a name I just started recently liking. It means woman, actually. And it's a Gaelic name, and it was popular in the 80s. But who says you can't bring back the 80s? I was born in the 80s, and I'm hip and happening. And then you have Danae. Danae is a mother of Perseus. It's a Greek name. And it was popular in the early 2000s. But I think it's also a very sweet and innocent and cute sounding name. Kind of a troublemaker though, if you think about it. Then there's Dahlia. Dahlia, I think Dahlia is it's a very cute name. I liked it. I just like the sound of Dahlia. Delana, I'm not a fan of Delaney, but I do like Delana. It's a nice, soft, feminine touch to the name Delaney. Dina is a very old sounding name to me, just because the 70s was a long time ago. Dina means heavenly or divine. It is a European name, and it was popular in the 70s. Then next we have Daniela. I'm not a huge fan of the name Danielle. I have a cousin named Danielle, but I like her fine, but I'm not a big fan of the name Danielle. So Daniela is a nice, soft, feminine touch to the name Danielle. Deborah is one of those names I've just liked for a long time, but I don't really like Debbie or Deb. So if I had a kid named Deborah, she'd probably go by Deborah. Then there's Drinda. Drinda is a name I heard from the 1989 Steven Spielberg movie called Always. If you are a softy, romantic, tearjerker, lovey-dovey kind of person like I am, Always is the movie to see. It also stars John Goodman and Richard Dreyfuss. It's a good movie. John Williams wrote the music for it, composed the music. Steven Spielberg movie, if you like Steven Spielberg. Holly Hunter plays the character Drinda. Then there's Delana. Delana, again, like with Delana. No, not Delana. Delina. Delina. Wow, I don't know how to read my handwriting. Delina, like Delana, is just a nice, soft, feminine touch to Delane. Danetta is a nice, soft, feminine touch to Danette. Not really a fan of Danette, but Danetta is really cute and pretty. Devon, I like. The only thing I have with Devon is trying to figure a way to put this without making me sound really bad. I like the name Devon. But I think Devon would sound better on someone who doesn't have my type of coloring and features. Then there's Deandra. Deandra is a name that I've liked for a while. I think my mom had a friend named Deandra that when she told me stories about her, I just started liking the name. And then my last girl name for D is Dulcie. Kind of goes with Chelsea and Kelsey, and I think it's just an interesting twist on like Chelsea and Kelsey. Dulcie would be cute, or Tulsi. You got Tulsi, Chelsea, Kelsey, and Dulcie, and of those four, I do like Chelsea. I do like Chelsea's. I just mentioned Chelsea in my C video, but if I were to honestly choose between those four, I would probably name a daughter either Tulsi or Dulcie. and that is where the D name Dulcie comes from. My D name for boys, my favorite D name for a boy is Declan. And I just started liking Declan, actually. It's an Irish name, I believe, or a Celtic name. But it's still an interesting name, and I think it's really cool sounding. A boy coming to school going, I'm Declan. Then there's Dylan. Dylan, I think there was a character on 90210 named Dylan. Not where I got the name, though. I had a friend who named her son Dylan, and I thought it was a really cute name. Dalton is an interesting sounding name, I thought. But I have a friend whose last name is Dalton, and I lived with her mom for a while and got to be friends with her mom, and it goes back to just not wanting to name a child after someone I know personally or someone I still have close contact with, or family. David. David is a family name. I also have a couple friends named David, but it's a name that I've liked for a while. Daryl was a name I don't hear a lot of people named Daryls, and not a name that I probably would have thought of on my own, but I worked with a Daryl, and the name kind of grew on me. Then there's Damon. A lot of people might associate it with the actor Matt Damon. Not a fan of Matt Damon by any means. In fact, he's on my don't watch list. Yes, I have a don't watch list for movies and actors, especially actors and actresses. I have a don't watch list, and he is pretty high up there on that one, actually. But he's not my number one don't watch, but he's in the top 5, top 4. That's how high up he is. But I do like the name David. Then there's Dean, and Dean, like Daryl, was not a name that I was like gun for. But then I worked with a guy named Dean, and he's just kind of cool and swaggered, and thought it was interesting, and it grew on me. Then we have Daniel. Daniel is a name you don't really hear a lot of people go by Daniel if their name is Daniel. They go by Dan or Danny, and all the Daniels I've known have gone by Dan or Danny, except for maybe one. I have a friend whose brother's name is Daniel, and I've never, to my recollection, ever heard her call her brother Dan or Danny. I've always heard her call him Daniel. Oh, wait, I have a cousin named Daniel, too. And I've never heard him go by anything but Daniel. So maybe 2. Maybe 2 people I've met go by Daniel. I don't really like the name Dan or Danny very much. I'm okay with people named Dan or Danny. I have friends by those names. But if I had a kid named Daniel, he'd go by Daniel. Then there's Dieter. Dieter is a name that I had never heard of until Dieter F. Uchtdorf. It's a very hard name to sometimes pronounce. And he is one of the leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And being Mormon, that's how I know who he is. I just think it's an interesting name. Dallin is under those kind of same ranks. He is one of the leaders of the Mormons. And I had a coworker once who had a son named Dallin, who was also named after this leader, Dallin H. Oaks. The only qualm I have with the name Dallin is it is very similar to Alan. In fact, there's just like a D in front of the sounding name of Alan, so it's like literally Dallin. And I have a brother named Alan, so probably wouldn't work. Then there's DeMarco, and I do like the name DeMarco. I think it's very interesting and exotic sounding and kind of cool and intellectual, but like Devon, it kind of has that kind of sounding name. And then for some reason I have Daniel on there twice, so I'm going to skip over that and go to Dane. Dane is just a name I like. I mean, not all these names I actually have a reason for liking. It's just I saw the name or I heard the name and I thought it was interesting. But it's just, I don't necessarily have like a reason for liking it. I just thought it sounded awesome. Kind of goes with Dane there. It's kind of makes me a Great Dane. Then you have Dason. Dason is a name. I think it's a brand name too. Not sure. Could be wrong. But that Dason might be a brand name. I just thought of that. But I think it's a cool sounding name. And then Decker. Decker, kind of like Declan, is just one of those names I think just sounds super neat. It's, you just picture a kid going to school, my name is Decker. So, anyway, those are my D names.